everybody. Welcome to today's Daily Distinction. Really glad you're here, and it is Friday. But as we have said before, our Fridays seem like Mondays. It's all running together, but it's all okay because we're here together on Distinction Distinction Nation. Maybe you're watching on Distinction Nation. Maybe you're watching Daily Distinction somewhere else. I better remind myself what this is. Okay, so we're off to a great start, right? Have you ever had one of those days? Today has shaped up as one of those days so far. I have been sitting around and I have gained the COVID-19 pounds. Maybe not that much, but I'm just feeling out of shape. You know, the gym's closed, all that kind of good stuff. So I decided I was going to, get myself out and get myself in better shape. And so I've been saying I've been walking 2 miles a day. I've been doing that. And I stepped in something, sprained my ankle. And I have been hobbling around the house. And I got to tell you, back pain to me is the worst, but foot pain is a close second in terms of just nagging, just bother you. And that's kind of where I am today. When getting up and down the stairs here in our house becomes like a process rather than just doing it. Golly. So if you're fighting anything, I know that is a sprained ankle is nothing compared to what some of the folks that are watching are dealing with. I realize that, but it's kind of that nagging thing that kind of takes you off your game just a little bit. But it is Friday, right, Pam? You're absolutely right. So great to have you here. Hey, and as everybody's signing on, a bunch of folks are coming on now on our different channels. I want to remind you that we have some incredible guests coming up. And the one that I am so excited about is Country Music Hall of Fame member of the Oak Ridge Boys, Joe Bonsall, is going to be here on Monday talking. And Joe and I have been friends for more years than I'm sure either one of us are going to want to talk about. But and we have more stories, some of which we'll be able to tell you. But that's going to be coming up on Monday. And I can't wait because Joe is one of the great guys in the world. And we were joking with each other. We hope that it doesn't de-evolve into, one of us saying like 2 words and the other guy just breaking up because it's all inside jokes. So I promise we're going to try to stay away from that, but we're going to have a great time. Joe Bonsall of the Oak Ridge Boys here on Monday. And then coming up on Tuesday, my awesome friend Phil Jones, who wrote the great book, Exactly What to Say, and others as well in the Exactly series. Check him out online. It's Phil M, as in Mary. Well, not as in Mary in his case, but Phil M. Jones. And he is one of the top authors of audiobooks on Audible, one of their big names that they did a special session for. So you're really going to enjoy Phil. He's coming up on Tuesday. Derek Kinslow, as I mentioned, the road manager of the Oak Ridge Boys, talking about the future of concerts and meetings and all like that's going to be coming up soon as well. And I want to say a special thank you. I have a new camera. I just got it hooked up. So I don't have all the settings down or settings right or anything, but Ken Walls was so kind because if you try to buy a webcam right now, it's crazy. Everybody is out of stock. It's absolutely unbelievable. The one that I wanted is called the Logitech Mobi. I think it's MOBI. And that's the one that's got the best reviews. And that's the one I wanted. It's one that Ken uses on his live streams. It's just a fantastic camera. Matter of fact, the reason Ken sent me this Logitech is because he upgraded to the Mobi. So I'm going online, and I think the Mobi costs $150 and all. It's sold out, and on eBay they're selling them for $350. Right? So if you want to pay a $200 premium, then you can get the camera. I decided I was going to wait. Ken was kind enough to send me the new camera here. So got that. So a million thanks to Ken. And don't forget as well, on Sunday nights, we have that show, the Ken and Glenn show with a guy named Scott. Comes up every Sunday night at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. Glenn Morshower. We saw Glenn last night. Tammy and I are binging 24 because I've seen every one of them. It's been a long time. And Tammy has seen some of the seasons, but not all the seasons. So we're just binging on 24. And we're into day 4 now, or season 4. Season 5 is the best of all of them. I can't wait to get there to relive season number 5. But anyway, we're binging that and get to see Glenn as Secret Service agent Aaron Pierce in that show all the time. We saw him again on The Practice. We watched, caught up on an episode of that the other night. Transformers. I've never seen any of the Transformer movies, but Glenn is in the Transformer movies as well. So Ken and Glenn and a guy named Scott our show every Sunday. So look forward to seeing you on Sunday. We're here, of course, every day. Sheila, glad to see that you are back. I hope you're feeling all right and things are going well back home. So great to see you here. So glad that you're with us today as well. I want to say a special thanks to my friend Richard Mellencamp back home was kind enough to send me a video, and that just blew me away. And so, Richard, always great seeing you. I don't know if you're online right now. You're here most days, but just wanted to mention here that the video that you sent me was just absolutely incredible. I don't see Richard online right now, but everybody has asked. I've probably gotten 20 messages or emails, and they will see Richard posting here on Daily Distinction, and they know that, I'm from Southern Indiana, and so they've asked, is he any relation to Rock and Roll Hall of Famer John Mellencamp? And I can say, yes, he is. That's John's father. It's John Mellencamp's dad that you see posting here. So wanted to say thanks to Richard. Hey, Marty. Yeah. And it's not done yet. We have been like moving everything and remodeling everything. And we ordered a bunch of stuff. And then because of what's going on, some of the stuff is back ordered. So we don't have it. And we're it's one of those things. I can't wait to get it done. And we're waiting on a couple things to get shipped in. So we're working on creating a better studio. Thank you for noticing. I really appreciate it. We're working on creating a better studio for this. And as you might imagine too, look, everybody's being impacted by what's going on right now. There's no doubt. And it's so interesting. This kind of leads into what I wanted to talk about today in a way. It's so interesting because we tend to see things through our own lens. On Facebook, and I was just on a call with him right before I came on here, a Zoom meeting. So on Facebook, my pal, Mark Sanborn, posted, and it was a complaint that he had to United Airlines. Now, I've been a global services member of United. Mark is a global services member with United. He is, 3 million mile flyer with them, a very loyal customer of theirs. And he lives in Denver, which, as you might know, is a major hub. Denver, Chicago, Houston are the major hubs for United, Newark. And so anyway, there was a news story last night in Denver about this United flight that arrived, and the plane was absolutely packed, middle seats full, everything full, and nobody wearing a mask. Now, what bothered Mark about that was, well, two things. Number one is United said that they were going with a different seating policy to keep a little bit of distancing, and as other airlines have said, passengers would be required, because they're in such close proximity, to wear masks. None of that happened on that particular flight. So Mark was a little concerned about, saying one thing and doing another. And the other thing Mark's concerned about is that Mark and his wife, Darla, are, of course, very proud because their son, Hunter, just graduated from Ohio State University, and he also received his commission as a Marine officer, and he's flying home today. Well, so as you can imagine, they don't want him to get home and him catch the coronavirus on the flight and, infect all of them and also have trouble and not be able to report for duty as desired as a new officer in the United States Marines. So he just wrote that, and he posted on Facebook. Here's what I wrote, and I'll keep you posted on what they say, because they had said it wasn't going to be that way. Well, one, I'm searching for the right term. My mom used to say a smart aleck. Remember that term? He was a smart aleck. So one smart aleck posted, "Yeah, Mark, what do you want? A private plane for your kid or something like that?" And it was really snarky, really sarcastic. And it's not somebody that I know that Mark said he knew that particularly well, but boys, as we look, as somebody that's complaining because through their lens, this whole thing has hurt them economically. And that's one of the things. Again, I'm not trying to say what side you should be on. I'm not trying to preach the side that I particularly believe in. That's not why I'm here. That's not the point. That's not the point of this program. The point of this program is to think about some of the things that we do and some of the things that we say and how we might come out of this stronger, regardless of what our position is. And it's just amazing to me that sometimes we are forgetting through a stressful process that the example that we set is one that people are going to watch and remember, and some of them will imitate. Here's my point. If you're the CEO of United Airlines and you say that there's going to be social distancing and every passenger is going to have to wear a mask, now you may disagree with that, but when I think about this argument for a second, if that is what the CEO is saying, and then they don't enforce it on that flight, so now what does everybody think about the following things? What do flight attendants think their responsibility is? It might not be to enforce the rules because the rules weren't enforced. I saw on TV they weren't enforcing the rules on that. Why should I enforce the rules on my flight? Get people mad at me, right? Because the flight attendant's going to take the brunt of the anger, not the CEO sitting in the nice office in Chicago. The flight attendant might think, well, why do I have to follow up on that? It doesn't matter. And the passenger's going to think, well, they aren't wearing masks. Why should I wear masks? And then the CEO says, this is something else that is our policy. Now, what are you going to think? Right? Wouldn't it be easier at this point for them to say, well, they didn't really follow through on the last one. How do I know they're going to follow through on this one? Right? In other words, they're not setting the example that is desired. Oh, here's my pal Randy. I didn't know you were on, Randy. Good to see you. Be truthful. As a professional speaker who believes that being an expert in one thing makes him an authority to comment on everything. Yeah. Randy, I'm sure you saw. I thought it was great. Did you see that post that, the scientists in microbiology are saying one thing, and my buddies from high school that couldn't pass science are saying another thing on Facebook. I just don't know who to believe. I thought that was great. That was a great line. Yeah, just because you're an expert in one thing doesn't make you an authority on everything. I wonder, I was thinking of this example. I wonder, okay, so if my ologist, very smart person, she's wonderful in her field, she's an incredible eye doctor, would I have her do a bypass? No, that's not her specialty. So it makes me wonder why people post that some general practitioner in, Indianapolis thinks one thing, and it goes, pardon the pun, it goes viral, and people take that as being as valid as what someone, for example, the expert that we've talked about here before, that's the friend of Joe Calloway's, that's has devoted his life to studying viruses at Vanderbilt University. I mean, it's not all the same. Thanks, Lisa. I mean, again, I'm not trying to tell you what to think. I'm not trying to tell, but it is something that we need to remember. Just because you're an expert on one thing doesn't mean you're an expert on everything. Randy's exactly right. You've heard me say here before, there are things I feel qualified to talk about. There are others that you'll never, if you ever hear me trying to give anybody here financial advice, slap me. I mean, there are other things that I haven't studied and I haven't proven in my own life that I'm proficient at compared to other aspects where I really feel a degree of expertise. So we need to think about that. Hey, my pal Lois. Okay, Lois, thank you. I will. We can agree that you're not doing the next surgery. I appreciate that. Here's the other thing that worries me. If the example that we are setting, and you can draw this on either side, there are some people that are staying home because it is a reasonable choice. They have examined the alternatives, and this is the reasonable choice that they are making. I do believe that there are other people that aren't going out because they're afraid. Those set two different examples for the people in our homes. If you say, the government can't tell me what to do, that's a philosophy. That's an approach. But then don't be surprised when your kids say, well, my parents can't tell me what to do, because of the example that you have set about how you respond to authority. That's the main point I wanted to make today, right? Is that everything, we tend to think of, I wrote about this. I've heard Randy talk about it. I've heard our pal Larry Winget talk about it. When I was a kid, I remember this show, and it was called Truth or Consequences. Boy, that dates me, but I was really young. I think I was in the womb when this was on, but The name of the show, it was a game show. And Bob Barker, of course, who later, did The Price is Right. Bob Barker was the host. And the name of the show was Truth or Consequences. So they'd ask you this question. And if you couldn't answer it, then there was some kind of funky consequence that you had to, and it was funny. All right. But it also established, I think, unfortunately, that consequences were always the result of errors. And that's the wrong definition of consequence. Every action has a consequence. A consequence is kind of, it's like that old saying that we had to memorize in high school, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. It's similar to that in the sense that a consequence means that for everything we do, there's some type of reaction that we're going to get. That is the consequence. So when we talk here about planting the seeds that are going to be the crop that you want, the crop that you want is the consequence of planting the good seeds. Planting no seeds means no crop, and that means the consequence of your action is no crop. So consequences are neither positive or negative. They are just the result of our actions. Pam, I think I saw reruns on the Game Show Network. I really don't remember that show. I said that and I thought, boy, I have dated myself like you can't believe all of a sudden, right? So here's the point. Whatever we do, there's going to be a consequence. So if you act like you are afraid of the world, the consequence will be you have set an example of fear. If you act like the government can't tell me what to do, nobody can tell me what to do, then your kid's not responding to authority is a consequence of your action. And all I think we need to be concerned about here is that it's almost like if you're playing checkers, you can't win unless you're thinking, if I do this, they'll do that, and then I need to do this. You've got to be thinking a couple moves ahead on the board, right? I mean, chess is even more a different level than that. But if you're playing checkers, you got to think, okay, so if I jump this, then he's going to jump me, then, right? You've got to think a couple moves ahead. And I really think a lot of times what's going on right now, and one of the challenges in our lives and one of the challenges in business is we don't think a couple moves ahead on the board. If I do this, they'll do that. We get so concerned about the immediate response. By gosh, I'm right. Okay, you can be right, but you can be right, and then what will their response be? And if they respond in that way, what will you do? And when you do that, what will they do? We've got to think a couple steps ahead. So the thing I want to encourage you to think about today is, what's the example that you're setting, and what's the response, the consequence that you can expect? Regardless of what your position is, regardless of what you believe, regardless of what you think, it's one of the greatest tools for managers. If I say this to someone who works for me, then what are they going to think? What will be the consequence of that statement? How will they react? Will it be positive or negative? And if they react in a positive way, what do I do? If they react in a negative way, what do I do? These are all things we need to be thinking about. It's not rocket science, but it is the discipline of thinking ahead. And if we don't think ahead, then how in the world can we expect to receive the consequences, the results that we want from the behavior that we're modeling? That's a fundamental key to all of this. Oh, Jeff, that's one of my favorite sayings, man. I love that you said that. Yes, exactly. Robert Schuller was the first person I heard that said that, the late, great Robert Schuller, who said, tough times never last, but tough people do, right? It is so true. Lisa, yeah, it's a checkerboard. Think beyond the obvious. There you go. Hey, Lisa, I'm so glad you said that. That is so important and powerful. I mean, one of the most important things that an advisor can do, or that a coach, a business coach or consultant could do, or any professional could do, is to help our clients, our customers, see more than one step ahead. But yet so many want to get that quick transaction, that quick response, that all they want to do is close the sale without thinking a couple of steps ahead about what's going on with the customer. We have a particular product that we purchased, we bought for our company. And now that we're really getting into it and applying it, we realized we were kind of oversold. In other words, some of the things that were said in the sales process, you can't do with the product once we've gotten into it. So now what happens? Well, we signed up for a year of the service. Will they let us out? I don't know yet. Will they uh, give us a different level of the product so that we get what we want? But yet, what's that going to cost? Because we budgeted at a particular range. And in my super positive feelings about the product and about the company that delivers the product was way high. Now it's eroding because I kind of feel like they did the transaction without thinking a step or two ahead in terms of, what kind of satisfied customer would I be? Yeah, everything requires a bit of strategy. And it's amazing to me. At least you're going to get me on another rant here, and I appreciate that. But I think many times we teach the wrong things in school. I don't think we teach the right things as a part of the fundamental education that everybody receives. Everybody I know that went to law school says one thing about law school. Some folks I know went to law school didn't even become lawyers. They said the great thing about law school is it teaches you how to think. Well, why did you have to wait for law school for that? I mean, why don't we talk in school about strategy? I don't mean developing a corporate strategic plan for a Fortune 500 organization, but just in terms of the kinds of things that we're thinking now. I mean, when you get out of school, I kind of joke, but it's also kind of true, is that what I learned in high school that I apply the most every day is what Miss Leckrone taught us in typing. Right? I mean, I use my typing class every day. For the rest of my life, I've used typing class. I have yet to be asked how to dissect a frog. Right? I'm not saying biology. I'm not saying it's not important. We need that, but I often think that we spend so much time teaching the wrong things in school, where we need to be talking about, how do you think a step or two ahead? Yeah, they're so busy inside the picture frame they can't act. It's the forest of the trees. Hey, Darcy, glad you're here. Trying to get your 16-year-old to think ahead 3 steps with their actions. Oh, great! I'm glad to hear that, because I think that's one of the most valuable lessons that she can learn. Is it's amazing that it's just, I'm going to tell him this, right? People are in that mode. Well, if I don't like it, I'm going to tell him this. Not even thinking about what the reaction's going to be. And not even thinking about, if their reaction is negative, how am I going to respond now? Because I mean, it's absolutely critically important. Hey, Brian has a great point here too. And that is, they're selling for the order and the quota, not the long-term relationship. And Brian, I think there's a couple things that really drive me crazy about how businesses of all sizes are managed and are administered these days. And the two things that I think that are most overlooked in any business, here's one of them. It's what you're pointing out. It is that they don't think enough about lifetime customer value. Would it be better if we did something else with them, because it's going to encourage longer repetitive purchases, as opposed to trying to close them on everything right now? The company that we invested in their product, it's kind of soiled in the sense that they said, oh, we know you, we have other clients like you, here's what we can do. And now I can't find any of the clients that are like us exactly with what they do. And I can't find, and so the trust that I have in them is eroded. And I'd also think, I could be a pretty good, source of referrals. I could be a pretty good source of, putting things out there about how great they are and how much, but they didn't think about that. They thought about the order and the quota, not the long-term relationship, as you said, Brian. By the way, the second thing that I think is the worst thing in business that's overlooked is how much it costs to replace a good employee, particularly a good sales professional, but any employee. If you had an employee that walked out the door and kept the corporate laptop, the company would go after them. But they'll let an employee walk out the door and keep relationships and keep knowledge and keep experience that the company invested a heck of a lot more than they did in the laptop, and don't even think anything about it. And so it's not only losing the productive employee in the relationships, it's also how long it's going to take to hire and educate and train somebody to get up to speed. And companies don't even look at that. They don't evaluate that at all And it's the most overlooked aspect, lifetime value and the cost of replacing a good, they'd be better off to pay the employee more or to get more engaged with the employee and keep them than to let them walk out the door with the relationships and the knowledge and everything that they have. Incredible. Yeah, Lisa, you get a core education in school, but the skills at the edge, internal, external, that you gain after. Yep, you couldn't agree more. And it gets me too, Lisa, when people talk about soft skills. Oh, that's a soft skill. We got to train you for the hard skill. How you talk. I've heard that about medical schools. I've heard that in business schools. The customer experiences, your bedside manner. Those are the soft skills. We're going to teach the hard skills in medical school. Like what drug you administer. We're going to teach the hard skills in business school. Understanding EBITDA. Yeah. Okay. So they're saying the hard skills are better than, or need to be educated more than the soft skills. And my response is, okay, you've got a computer, the hardware, try to make it do anything without software. So they're all essential. They're all essential skills. And that's what helps us live up to our potential. Hey, here's Ken. I don't know if your ears were burning earlier, my friend. I've got the camera. It was, believe it or not, it was delivered at 9:15 last night. And I was going to send you a note, but that's 12:15 your time, after midnight. So I'm using the camera here for the first time. Just got her plugged in. So thank you, my friend, for that. I've talked about it earlier in the show. And I also talked about our show that's coming up on Sunday as well. So got to make sure that everybody tunes in then. All right, everybody, I appreciate it so much. I'll be back again over the weekend on Saturday and Sunday. And also, please don't forget. I'm so looking forward to it. Set a reminder or tell, Alexa or Siri or OK Google that you want to make sure that you're here on Monday at 3:00 Eastern, noon Pacific, when Joe Bonsall of the Oak Ridge Boys is our guest. And if that earworm of the song Elvira comes into your head, then you will know Joe's voice. They're just one of the great groups in the history of any kind of music, and obviously one of the great groups in the history of country music. So Joe's joining us on Monday. It'll be a big time. And then Phil Jones on Tuesday, who is one of my dear friends and just an incredible thinker, incredible writer. And he's over in the United Kingdom, so we'll be talking to him over in England. We'll see how things differ between the UK and here in terms of everything that's going on. So the last word I'd leave you with is the importance of the importance of the example that we set. The example that we set is so important and it's so critical. And we need to be thinking a step or two ahead in terms of what the example is that we are setting and that we expect others in our wake to follow. Hope you have a great Friday, and I look forward to talking to you again right here tomorrow on Daily Distinction. Thanks for watching. See you soon.